may be seated. So a little bit of a history lesson. When a king visits a city back in this day, it was a huge deal. It was an absolutely huge deal. And they would typically enter on a white horse. But if they were at war, it would be a white horse, right? But if they were at peace, it was a donkey. Jesus rode in on a donkey. Jesus came in peace. But we've got to understand a couple of things about the Romans. It's this culture and this empire that is incredibly powerful. But it was pretty diverse as well. As long as you didn't shake things up too bad, you were in pretty good shape. The Jews could live in peace, generally, and they kept to themselves. They ruled their people, and they kept them quiet and out of the way. But Jesus was a man of the people. Met them face to face, taught, healed, walked amongst them, touched them. And when he enters Rome, they call him Master and Lord. When he enters Jerusalem. Now, the Roman Empire was the most powerful force in the world. As a matter of fact, they had the most money, they had the best technology, they had the largest military, and they ruled with an iron fist. They demanded high taxes and absolute obedience. Those who defied were crucified, naked, tortured, and nailed to the cross. Rome was all powerful, the entirety of their empire. Whenever Caesar would return from battle, he would come into the cities and the people would line the streets for the triumphal march. They waved branches and threw their garments on the ground before him. And he rode into Rome on a strong white horse. Every Roman emperor did the same, with a regal purple robe garnished with gold laurel crown, temple of Jupiter, branch in hand, and the people would shout, "Hail, Caesar!" The armies followed with all of the conquered prisoners of war. They would march ahead of them. Africans, Jews, Arabs, proof of victory. And when the emperor arrived at the Roman Forum, he would declare the gospel, the good news of victory over their enemies. It was called the Evangelion, which means the good news. The expansion of the Roman Empire and its power. Some would be sentenced to death, and on the spot in front of everybody, they would be killed. A show of power. Conquering power. When he arrived at the capital, a bull would be slaughtered. He would be offered a cup of wine, but he would refuse it, pouring it out upon the altar. And the emperor would sit on his throne in glory. So what we get today in our gospel, this procession of Jesus into the city, is a bit of a parody of the Roman triumphant march. Jesus enters not on a white horse, but on a donkey, a symbol of peace. And later on in the week, we all know what happens. The entry chants change. He will be given a purple robe, and Jesus will most certainly wear a crown, but this time of thorns. They will parade him through the city shouting, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And his executioner will walk alongside him. But he won't be led to the capital this time, but to Golgotha. Not the head, but the foot. The place called the skull. And like the emperor, Jesus will too be offered ceremonial wine. But he too will refuse it. You see, this power of Rome is contrasted in the simple humility of Jesus. The indestructible power of Rome destroyed in one moment. With the foolish gentleness of the one who played with children, preached about the lilies of the field and the birds of the air, ate with sinners, healed lepers, and lived among the poor. The pomp, power, and pride of the world's rich and powerful are shown for what they are. Shame. Love, compassion, and weakness is exalted. There's a lot of people who will skip out on church this week. I know when I was a kid, this is my least favorite week the whole year. I told you guys before, I used to just bawl, like cry, out loud, wailing during the Good Friday part of the Passion Play. I couldn't even be in the room when I was a kid. Always hated Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday. And not really for good reason either. But I think I can understand why people skip out on church this week. Because we know it's coming. This is the hardest part. The thing we have to remember, brothers and sisters, is that without Jesus' death, there can be no resurrection and life. And this is the euangelion to theou, which means the good news of God. Euangelion to theou, not euangelion of Caesar, but it is of God. Not a president, not a bishop, not a pastor. This is God's good news for us. It's the expansion of the kingdom. Of a kingdom filled with healing, hope, and mercy, and forgiveness. This Jesus is the King of all kings. Still a man of the people at the same time. Loving us, living amongst us, walking with us. See, I think we know that as we wave our palms, as we walk down the streets, thinking about how good God is, as we share ministry here in this place, right in the middle of Midtown, we're right smack dab in the middle of a desperate world. A desperate world waiting to know that there is good news. And see, the funny thing for me is that power and wealth and money, they're really difficult to come by. They take years and years of struggle and pain and sacrifice. And to get to be able to sit in the seat of honor usually means it's at the expense of many, many others. But you know what? Servanthood and love, grace and mercy, they're already at our fingertips. They're always at our fingertips. And as we gather around this table with our hands outstretched, God puts it in our hands. Here is our King. Here is our King. Amen. Pray with me if you would. Good and gracious God, you give us